I got another set of cards. Wildlife America 1991 by Bonaire Collectibles. A beautiful 50 card full color set of the wildlife of North America as depicted on postage stamps produced by the US Postal Service. On the reverse of the card we have included useful information about each creature. Here we go. The Alaskan brown bear, world's largest carnivore up to 10 feet in length, 1800 pounds, armed with massive limbs and long curved claws. Normally slow and clumsy, he can move with surprising speed when necessary. Once found from the Dakotas to Mexico, now only in Alaska and northern Canada, the Alaskan is a large cousin of the grizzly whose hairs are tipped with silver. The Alaskan has no natural enemies and doesn't need to travel in groups. They are omnivores, but the brown bear is a gourmet diet of Pacific salmon almost exclusively. They sleep away the hardest part of the winter, but this is not hibernation as they can be awakened easily. Interesting. The American lobster, pretty tasty food. Lobsters are becoming increasingly scarce due to pollution and great demand. They were harvested by the American Indians long before Europeans came to these shores. The large clawed lobsters, among the largest crustaceans, are found in cold Atlantic waters from Labrador to the Carolinas, most common in the canyons of the continent itself, 80 to 250 meters off New England. The creature's own aggressive and cannibalistic nature prevent more success in hatcheries as they get larger, though millions were successfully raised. If they lose a limb in a fight, it will probably grow back. Fishermen in most areas respect size limitations on lobsters, which can grow to weigh 50 pounds. Snowy egret, type of heron, large wading birds with long, broad wings and lacy, frog-like plumage. Their food is mainly frogs and small fish, with their habitat primarily in lagoons, marshes, and damp meadows. Following the Civil War, the demand for their feathers almost caused their extinction. Prior to large-scale hunting, they were found from New Jersey west to Nebraska, south to Argentina. 5 million were killed annually. Plumes went from $32 an ounce. Now they are confined mostly to the southern U.S. In 1902, the National Audubon Society was formed to save exploited birds and chose the snowy egret as its symbol. Pretty cool. The black-tailed jackrabbit. Because of his ridiculously large ears, early pioneers dubbed this creature the jackass rabbit. Explained by Mark Twain, the most perpetuous ears ever mounted on any creature but a jackass. He is actually a hare, larger than rabbits, with longer and more powerful legs, perpetual alert to danger, with extraordinary senses, uncanny hearing and eyesight. He also has a keen sense of smell, found in the dry western grasslands. He can travel 35 to 45 miles per hour, turning every few jumps to observe its pursuer. Food for coyotes, bobcats, mountain lions, and snakes, but only winged predators can usually catch him. Females produce 4 liters a year, and the young are born alert and ready to run. We got the monarch, very popular butterfly. The monarch supposedly travels great distances in migration. Scientists have tagged monarchs, later identifying them thousands of miles away. They were named for William of Orange, a monarch whose crest bore the same colors. The brilliant orange color within a web of black reminds us of a stained glass window. Specimens have been found in Hawaii, Great Britain, Australia, Japan, and the Canary Islands. The transparent wings are covered with scales which overlap like shingles and are easily rubbed off. Due to its habit of eating acrid leaves of the milkweed, it becomes poisonous to many creatures, a very unsavory meal. Due to its short lifespan, it is not understood how successive generations find their way. No butterfly could make the trip twice to guide others. Bobcat. The bobcat is unique to North America and is the only continent most abundant wild feline. About 20 pounds and 42 inches in length, it is not much larger than a house cat. It is thickly furred, marked with black spots and bars on a tawny coat. True to form for a cat, it stakes out a territory and protects it well. It will hunt one part of its range for a short while, then move on, allowing its prey to repopulate. He sports long razor sharp claws, long and powerful legs, sharp fangs, and excellent vision for hunting at night. Females give birth to 2 or 3 kits. Bobcats may live about 30 years in captivity, less in the wild. The gray squirrel prefers wooded areas, suburban lawns, and city parks. Inadvertently creates his own environment. When nuts aren't recovered, they grow into hardwood trees. The squirrel is about 16 inches long from its nose to its beautifully plumed tail, which serves alternately as a sunshade, umbrella, or as a balance or perch. Each squirrel community is dominated by an old male. This is strict adherence to seniority. At one time, probably 1 billion gray squirrels lived in the heavily wooded eastern United States. Often, the squirrel is the first wild creature that young children will see. Red-winged blackbird appears to have originated in tropical North America, along with tanagers and flycatchers. The male is coal black with shoulders adorned by bright patches of scarlet fringed with yellow. Color is absent from the female, who resembles a large sparrow. Blackbirds devastated crops in the early years of our country, causing bounties to be placed on them, but farmers soon realized they were more beneficial in reducing pests such as worms, and bounties were lifted. It is common in swamps and marshland, and being very territorial will attack cats, crows, and even humans. Found from Alaska to southern tip of Florida, the red-winged migrates in flocks numbering in the millions. Mountain lion. Predators such as the mountain lion help to stabilize animal populations. A single lion selecting the aged, deceased, and injured can completely control the deer herd within its range, leaving the strongest, healthiest deer. The mountain lion puma, cougar, panther is isolated and territorial. At one time, this creature had the widest distribution of any species of mammal in the hemisphere: deserts, forests, swamps, from Canada to the tip of South America. Today, only a few dozen of the 9-foot, 175-pound cats still stalk remote areas of the West. Another 40 or so inhabit the Everglades. They are now protected and are making a slow comeback. White-tailed deer, native to North America and provides the continent's earliest inhabitants with food and clothing. They average 40 inches high at the shoulder with a coat as chestnut in the summer and gray-brown in the winter. When alarmed, the flag is a signal of danger. The female doe uses the tail to lead the fawns through dark woods. At 1 week of age, the fawns can outrun a man. The deer has fine-tuned senses. Enemies can be heard or smelled long before they can be seen. It is graceful, tricky runner with lightning quickness. The deer is more abundant today than when the Pilgrims landed. Armadillo. By Spanish conquistadors, meaning little armored thing, a small bony carapace covers their back and sides, forcing it to roll up to protect its soft belly if danger threatens. The little animal can jump high, run swiftly, and swim well using an inflatable intestine to stay afloat. Interesting. He will consume about 200 pounds of insects a year and is often unaware that danger is near while he concentrates on eating. This animal is the only one known to give birth to 4 identical pups each time, all females or all males. Interesting. Mockingbird. The mocker can initiate the song of any bird with accurate, beautiful tones. He was called Arthmok by the Indians, translation one who mocks. The mockingbird, in imitating the calls of other birds, will repeat phrases several times, usually 3 in succession. He, like the nightingale, will sing his choruses at night, and moonlit evenings bring out the best in the mockingbird. Its Confederate gray coloring makes it no accident that the mocker is the state bird of 5 southern states. The mocker lives on the fringes of wooded areas, not far from cities and towns. He nests in bushes and low trees, defending his territory with a ferocity. He feeds on insects in spring and summer, switching to berries in cooler weather. The woodchuck, the groundhog of weather forecasting lore, he is one of the few mammals who generally hibernates. As winter nears, he builds up fat deposits for insulation in his underground nest. The body process slow down, dropping his body temperature to 38 degrees from 96, and he becomes as cold as and hard as stone, breathing only once a minute, with his heartbeat 95% slower than normal. Woodchucks are found from the east coast to Oklahoma and south to Georgia. Their lifespan is about 5 years. A favorite in February, he is generally hated the rest of the year by the farmer. As the chuck devours acres of crops, a creative engineer, his tunnels all have escape holes, separate compartments for sanitation, and water traps in case of flooding. Bobwhite. The bobwhite, named for its call bobwhite, is the most popular game bird in the southeast, often called quail or partridge. It is related to the goose and is about 10 inches long. Its short, curved bill is suited well to its diet of seed and insects, and its legs and claws are suited for scratching in the earth. The groups or coveys will assume a defensive position under brush by flattening themselves to the ground, with tails towards a common center. If danger comes too close, they will burst from the thicket in all directions with a frightening whir, confusing the enemy. The birds thrive near cultivated land, with the farmers knowing that their presence helps with the farm of beetles, grasshoppers, and other pests. Cape mountain goat. Tales of the mountain goat traveled by trappers and mountain men and were, of course, unbelievable. Inhabiting most desolate areas, highest peaks, and land howling in wind and icy coast. Believed to have been on the continent for 500,000 years, it is relative of the camoes and antelope. A sizable creature, it is 5 to 6 feet in length and weighs up to 300 pounds, with a shag heavy white coat and dagger-sharp smooth horns. It is an imposing creature, its only enemies being avalanches, rock slides, and encroachment of man. The mountain goat must move higher and higher to steep peaks where food is scarce. Beaver. The demand for beaver fur in Europe for making of felt hats created the first real fortunes from the New World. French explorer Samuel Champlain set up the first large trading post in Quebec, 1608. John Jacob Astor founded the American Fur Company in 1808, which brought him fantastic wealth from the beaver pelts. Once common across North America, the beaver is now limited to Canada, the northernmost parts of the United States, and isolated groups in the eastern states. The beaver has a pair of scissor-like front teeth, which it can chew through a 5-inch poplar tree in about 20 minutes. Contrary to belief, they cannot control which direction the tree will fall. Its front claws are ideal for carrying sticks, mud. The back feet are red, and the blue tail suitors as a rudder when swimming. Got an osprey. The fish hawk is accurately nicknamed nickname because its diet is almost solely fish. It competes with the bald eagle, who usually lets the osprey do the work and with intimidation steals the meal from the osprey. The osprey is a relatively large bird with a wingspan of around 5 feet. Its razor sharp talons often grip to its disadvantage, for it cannot escape eagle attack by releasing the fish, and if the fish is too large, he cannot release the fish and is sometimes drowned. Large fish have been caught with the remains of osprey skeletons attached to the backs. The osprey is declining in number, the nestlings and eggs being prey to raccoons and other natural predators due to the exposure of osprey nests. Interesting. Pronghorn. It is believed the pronghorn would surpass the speed of the cheetah, making it the fastest creature, with a cruising speed of 45 miles per hour and recorded speed 74 minutes at a time. It appears to hold the record. The pronghorn is the size and coloration of a small deer, with horns that are shed each year because of the lack of cover in its habitat. It has exceptional eyesight needed to detect and elude its enemies. Its principal foe is the coyote, which it can easily outrun if not trapped. Pronghorn has no leaping ability as the deer, which almost led to its demise as man built fences in the west, cutting pronghorn off from its food source. Its numbers dropped from 30 million to about 20,000 in the early 20th century. Interesting. That's a big decrease. Got California sea lion. The sea lion is an expert swimmer, attaining speeds in excess of 25 miles per hour, using its front flippers for propulsion and its rear flippers for rudders. When submerged, the sea lion's ears and nostrils close automatically and its heart rate slow, enabling it to go to depths of 450 feet and remain for as long as 25 minutes. They live on rocky offshores. Pilots from Santa Barbara north to Oregon, they feed on squid, abalone, and fish mostly at night using sonar to detect prey. Bows vie for territory near the center of the colony. Most females give birth to single pups. Once hunted for meat and blubber, it is now protected by law, delightful, and easy to train in captivity. They appear to enjoy entertaining crowds at marine parks. Got the wolverine. The wolverine, largest member of the weasel family, may be the most powerful and ferocious animal in North America. In proportion to its size, just over 3.5 feet long and about 50 pounds, it has the strength to down an elk. One is quite rare in the lower 48 states. It is found in remote regions of the Rockies and Sierras, where it finds the winter to its liking. The wolverine patrols its 100 square mile area, favorite heavy snow, where its broad feet act like snowshoes, allowing it to pad across the soft surface. Approaching its prey from the rear, it pounces on the animal's back and delivers its crushing bite. In warm weather, it must settle for nuts, berries, or the discard from other meat eaters. Got the deer mouse. The deer mouse is one of the most common, or more than 250 types of Native American mice, being prey for a long list. Owls, blue jays, coyotes, snakes forces the mouse to have high breeding rate. All flesh-eating mammals consume millions of mice daily. Its fur is gray to chestnut brown above. Right underneath, the mouse is about 6 inches long and weighs about 1 ounce. It vocalizes a churring sound, a high-pitched song, or a squeak when in danger. The deer mouse rarely travels more than a few hundred feet from its birthplace. Got the raccoon. A relative of the panda, it is considered the most intelligent North American animal. They have been observed opening door latches and drawers with their nimble fingers and prefers to rouse its food before eating. The raccoon will eat smaller mammals as well as its usual diet of nuts, corn, and other discarded food scraps at night. They prowl riverbeds for frogs and turtle eggs. Raccoons will not shrink from a fight with its bitter enemy, the dog, who usually gets the worst of a fight. Its coat is a mix of gray, black, and brown, with black bandits masked, revealing his true nature. The raccoon's greatest asset is his ability to live adjacent to man's world. We got bison. Buffalo once formed the greatest mammal congregation in the world, but was pushed nearly extinction, once numbering nearly 40 million, with herds stretching across hundreds of miles, because there were no animals to prey on them, and they were hardy. In their natural state, the bison population was trimmed by stampedes, whole herds going over cliffs or drowning while crossing frozen lakes and crossing through ice. As man advanced the high-caliber rifle, the hunting for sport soon depleted the bison to only a few hundred animals. By 1900, many were shot only for their tongues, a delicacy, while the rest of the animal was left behind. Current population is about 40,000, confined to preserve and private ranches. Eastern chipmunk, easily recognized by its reddish-brown collar and alternating bands of black and white fur. The chipmunk is a delight to see, though it is rare to catch a glimpse of this little creature. Noisy as it goes about the task of collecting food each time it leaves its burrow, it's still alert and wary of its many predators. The chipmunk gathers a huge amount of food to get him through the winter, often a bushel full. Hitting tree 3 feet deep in his burrow, it builds elaborate tunnel lodging and adds to continually loading its sleep space with food and sealing off all entrances before retiring for the winter, sleeping on a bed of more food than it could possibly eat. There were a lot of these in New York. When I was there, I liked to chase them around. Blonde-tailed hummingbird. Many people are surprised to learn that there are colorful tiny birds are covered with plumage of just 2 pigments, black and brown, yet hummingbirds display appearance of shimmering reds, blue greens, and lavenders, an effect created by reflection of light off the microscopic structure of the feathers. The flight of the smallest of all birds is its most familiar talent. With a wingspan of about 4 inches, it can travel a mile a minute in 5 directions, up, down, forward, reverse, or sideways. It can can also hang suspended in midair, its wings speeding 75 times per second. Migrates hundreds of miles crossing the Gulf of Mexico non-stop. It weighs 1/8 of an ounce, builds a nest the size of a walnut with a pea-sized egg, yet does not hesitate to take on crows, hawks, and eagles fearlessly. Ladybug, of the 30,000 species of beetle, is the most recognizable in the continent in spite of its small size. Conspicuous appearance and unhurried pace, the ladybug has protective armor like most beetles to protect it from predators. When the ladybug is airborne, the hinged shell opens to refuel a set of wings, although slow and ungraceful, enemies attack and are often deterred by the bad taste of the ladybug. One type of ladybug gives off a pungent fluid. One species fires a jet of hot liquid. When tagged, the accurate shot is accompanied by a puff of smoke and an audible explosion. Many beetles are harmful, but the ladybug feeds on destructive garden pests to the extent that many purchase large quantities to help control insects. The wolf has become a symbol of evil, while his domestic relative the dog has won the hearts of the people. Early man survived much as the wolf, traveling in groups to hunt for food and competing for the same prey. As man began to farm, his fear of the wolf grew. Modern man fears the howl and carries stories of men being dragged down by wolves, and even tales of the men growing fangs and fur during a full moon. There exists only one recorded attack of a wolf on a man, and it was shown that the wolf was rabid and the man was not seriously hurt. The gray timber wolf survives today only in the Canadian tundra and the rare pockets of some northern states. After man succeeded in eliminating the bison from an area, the wolf had to turn to livestock to survive. The bald eagle? Bald derives from the Middle English word meaning shining light. This bird, who became the symbol of the new American nation over the objections of many, including Benjamin Franklin, is a cautious, calculating creature who will not hesitate to take the easy theft route to obtain a meal. He will steal the cat, the hawks, osprey, and other animals, although his main food is fish that has rostered onshore. With two senses of focus in each eye, it is the ability to see forward and sideways at one time. It soars exceedingly high and dives at 70 feet per second. Once common, the eagle is now rare due to man's intrusion into its habitat, coupled with the fact that few reach the breeding age of 5. The bald eagle is a symbol to Native Americans of the dignity of freedom, and only the bravest warriors were allowed to wear its feathers. The box turtle, a true survivor. The turtle is an ancient animal who has outlived its contemporaries, the dinosaurs, because it was able to adapt to the changing environment. Once the turtle makes it through its first winter, he has a good chance for longevity. One on record was the gift of Captain James Cook to the King of Tonga in 1773. When it died in 1966, it was more than 200 years old. The box turtle is the only turtle or tortoise who can completely seal up his cell with hinge sections closed to prevent predators from making a meal of him. The turtles have long symbolized good luck and long life. On a lighter note, President Franklin Roosevelt, mocking the slowness of the Supreme Court, ordered the new court building to be decorated with turtles in the courtyard. Iwi, or Liwi, found only in Hawaii, has adapted itself to its environment of the volcanic islands, preferring the nectar of the flower of the ohia, the most abundant forest tree. Its brilliant coloring almost led to its demise, as ancient Hawaiians used its feathers for adornment. The slender curved bill of the Liwi is especially adapted to reach down into the bloom for nectar, at the same time accidentally helping the tree to spread its pollen. So long as the bird and flower are abundant, each species can be expected to survive and to prosper. Black-footed ferret, numbering only a few hundred, the black-footed ferret may be our rarest creature. Unlike other ferrets, the black-footed has chosen as his primary food the prairie dog. Man eliminated the other creatures who preyed on prairie dogs, allowing the prairie dog population to grow beyond natural control. As man used poisons to control them, another natural predator, the bird, died off in great numbers. Although prairie dogs were observed in great numbers by early settlers, the black-footed was not seen until 1851 by naturalist John James Audubon. The ferret is beneficial as a controller of rats, mice, and the rodents. His buff coat, long slender body, and banded mask, long with black feet and black tip, his tail give him distinctive markings. Blue jay, bully of the bird feeder, the jay is one of the most recognizable birds for the amateur to identify. Its plumage is a bright blue broken with patches of white accented by wing bars and collar of blacks. Its distinctive crest is raised when emerged. The blue jay seems to prefer living near people, locating its nest in garden trellises or vines near chimneys. They eat insects, snails, and other birds' eggs while extremely protective of their own nest. Along with its own raucous call, the jay has a joyful melodious song. When secluded, a skilled mimic. The jay used its hawk call, often approaching bird feeders. By the time the deceit is recognized, the other birds have fled in panic. The jay is also the woodland unarmed warning animal in bird-like that an intruder, usually man, is close by. Black bear. Most bears are shy but not cowardly. Black bears has killed more people than any other type of bear. They utilize refuse dumps, beg handouts from tourists, but this only proves his intelligence, not his love for humans. The black bear is the most common and the smallest of the North American, though his size is but 6 feet long and weighs 600 pounds. He is usually the largest creature where it occurs. His habitat runs from the swamps of the southeast to the rugged woodlands of the northwest. Bears will eat almost anything, preferring berries, crickets, fish, or charging into a bee tree eating honey, beeswax, and bees. Bighorn sheep and antelope. The bighorn can gallop at 5 miles per hour and jump from heights of more than 30 feet without injury. The legs of this remarkable animal are sturdy and flexible enough to stand the 300-pound shock. The large, permanently growing horns apparently have growth wings similar to a tree, telling us not only the age of the bighorn, but which were good growth season. Rams are known to charge one another at 20 miles per hour, crashing horns, and at the phased moment, repeating the ritual. The sheep have eyesight, allowing them to see for 2 miles, although their risk is worse from avalanches, snow, and humans than from mountain lions and coyotes. It was estimated that there were 2 million bighorns in the foothills of the Rockies. Now there are about 20,000, and they live only on about 4% of the range they used to cover. The pika, living in some of the most barren rocky areas of the West, does not have the luxury of the abundance of nuts and acorns that his eastern mammal cousins have. Fortunately, his diet includes almost any kind of herb and shrub. This little fellow spreads his cutting of grasses and buckwheat out to dry in the sun. These haystacks are moved from place to place to avoid rain spoilage. Just as the farmer would care for his hay, eventually these hay stores may be a bushel or more, or stashed beneath a rock or fallen tree. The pika is close relative of the hare, is grayish brown, has rounded ears, no tail, and is about 8 inches long. Tiger swallowtail, the most abundant North American butterfly occurring throughout the eastern 2/3 of the United States. Butterflies are cold-blooded and must rely on the sun's heat. The yellow of its wings is contrasted by fine black webbing. The lacy black rear wings tapering to ribbon-like extension give him the name swallowtail. There are 4 stages: egg by the female, hatching at the larva, caterpillar eventually forms a hard shell, the chrysalis, and attaches to a twig while asleep through winter. In the spring, a strikingly beautiful butterfly emerges from this cocoon. The creature then does nothing but sip nectar and search for a male to begin the cycle again. Rosette spoonbill, nearly eliminated in the turn of the century trade in plumage, the rosette is one of our real glamour birds, along with the heron and cranes. They are pink and white feathers, set off with carmine, scarlet, and vermilion, present a beautiful and exciting combination of colors. Western of the shallow salt marshes of the deep south, the birds are found only in Florida, Texas, Louisiana, and rarely Georgia. The Florida birds migrate from Cuba while others come up from Mexico. It's relatively large, it's stilt-like legs and long neck allowing it to see over marsh grasses. He sweeps his right spoon-shaped bill from side to side in shallow water to detect the badger. Fortune hunters going to the Wisconsin Territory in the early 19th century scratched out homes in the hills for winter shelter. Longtime residents ridiculed them by calling them badgers after the champion digger of the animal kingdom. The badger was probably named from the French badger, meaning today. Superstitions have followed this creature as we find out the badger fur would protect the holder from witchcraft, or that in Romania it was believed that vampires couldn't rise from the graves until smeared with badger fat. In North America, river boat gamblers carried badger teeth for good luck. In the United States, the badger is found from Mississippi Valley to the Pacific. It can burrow faster than a man can dig with a shovel. In Europe, special dogs were bred to drag badgers from their dens. These dogs were called dachshunds or badger hounds. These short-legged dogs had to be especially fearless as the badger has matchless courage, ferocity, and powerful jaws. Canada goose. It is believed that they sense minute changes in temperature, barometric pressure, which triggers the mass migration to the south, with the entire flock following instinctively, taking their places behind a single goose leading the fee. 40 miles per hour, each bird using the updraft caused by the bird ahead and relief leaders taking over the point from time to time. They can fly day and night, returning with uncanny accuracy to the same grounds each year. 3 million or more geese will begin the journey at the same time, the migration coinciding with the average temperature line of 39 degrees. Scientists believe also that geese navigate by the stars and the sun. The male and female are partners for life and will defend their nest with their lives, teach their young to fly and hunt for food, and when the weather changes, their young automatically know their places in the flight formation. Moose, aristocrat of the north, inhabits Alaska, Canada, and is infrequently found in Maine and the upper Great Lakes states. It is the largest antlered animal in North America, standing 7 feet at the shoulder and weighing up to 1,800 pounds. The moose can run swiftly on its long, spindly legs and can swim a sustained rate of 6 miles per hour for long distances. It can submerge itself completely in a pond or lake, feeding on the tender aquatic vegetation while keeping the annoying insects away. The bull moose is a ferocious animal during breeding season, and though it will tolerate humans most of the year, it will attack anything in sight during breeding season, including cars and trains. River otter, the playful behavior bellies the tentative dangerous existence they endure. Population trapping, the encroachment of humans into their habitat, are all secondary to having fun. The otters like playing tag with each other, hide and seek with fish, or sliding down mud banks or white water streams. The otter is streamlined, well insulated for the winter, and since he spends most of his time around streams, is able to stay submerged for minutes at a time. The best fisherman of all inland creatures, prey has no chance against the swift lightning quick snap of its jaws. Like the beaver, the otter builds the entrance to its den below the water level to allow an escape route and travel below the frozen surface in the wintertime, where enough air is trapped beneath the ice for breathing. Barn swallow. Swallows are among the most widely distributed birds. In the fall, swallows migrate as far as Australia, returning north as the insects begin to hatch, flying with his bill wide. A single bird may scoop 2,000 gnats from the sky in a day. Conspicuous in suburban areas, the swallow prefers the countryside where he can build his mud and straw nest in old buildings and timbers of old country churches and barns. The migration gathering you see on telephone wires in rural areas will bring together large concentration of swallows who upon heading south will pause at many rest stops on the way, using these migration stations, going and coming even after their trip spanning oceans and continents. Cottontail. The bunny rabbit, as we all grew up with, may be meeker than his animal neighbors but clever enough to outsmart most of them. The unique use of the right puff of a tail to flash at enemies frequently while the enemy is pursuing, then hide the right flash, confusing the predator while the rabbit makes its escape, is one example of instinctive intelligence. The Easter bunny originated with an old Teutonic legend in which the first rabbit was created by Eos, Austria, the goddess of spring. The rabbit pledged to lay brightly colored eggs each year for a spring festival named in her honor. I thought Easter was a Christian belief, so why is the goddess? The survival of the cottontail depends on eating enormous amounts of just about anything that grows and breeding almost continuously. A single pair of cottontails with their offspring can produce 350,000 rabbits in 5 years if no young are lost. In reality, most young rabbits die in the nest of drowning in heavy rains, predators, or disease, and parasites. Black-tailed prairie dog. A town can extend through its network burrows to cover an area such as once discovered in Texas panhandled up to 100 miles wide and 250 miles long. Towns grow in interesting fashion after the new prairie dog pups are sufficiently grown. The adults move out and let the young pups take over the family burrow, while the adults move to another area and dig new burrows. It lives its entire life within 50 yards of its burrow. Burrow entrances are shaped like little volcanoes, protecting them from flooding rains and providing a good lookout for predators. Prior to winter, prairie dogs grow very fast, making them more a temptation for hawk snakes and other predators. Constantly wary, they feed for about 30 seconds, then pause to look for danger. The animals have a system of yips, barks, snarls, chirps, signals for air raids from eagles, even in all clear when danger has passed. American elk. Very impressive roots held high antlers measuring 5 feet in width and stretching 5 feet back over its teeth frame. The American elk is a sight to behold. The class of two bull elks challenging each other with high-pitched calls that can be heard for miles is a normal autumn ritual. A large bull will stand 5 feet high at the shoulder and weigh up to 800 pounds. The correct name is wapiti, a Shawnee Indian word meaning right rump. Outside North American elk refers to the moose. The elk has been found painted on walls of ancient cave dwellers and has provided food and clothing for humans for thousands of years, with the antlers used for weapons and tools. Their canine teeth supposed to be good for luck. They brought about the census slaughter of tens of thousands until President Theodore Roosevelt had to practice red fox. The red fox is famous for its intelligence and cunning, but is one of the most elusive creatures in North America. It is one of the smallest members of the canines, though. With its bushy tail and silky fur, it looks larger than its 10 pounds. He fears wolves, coyotes, and lynx, but his greatest enemy is the dog. Fox lives along the fringes of the forest, edge woods, and in open country. It has learned to coexist with humans and frequently found in cities. With its cat-like eyes, it can detect most subtle changes in its surroundings. Care for the young is shared by the male and female. During the 10th week, the young are taken on their first hunt and quickly learn the ways hunter and prey. Foxes eat small animals to survive but prefer all types of vegetation. Scarlet tanager. Most attractive and brilliant colored creatures, the scarlet tanager is native to the forest. From Virginia and Missouri north to the Pine Woods, Canada, nature has provided a safety feature for this bird, which unfortunately attracts predators by the very coloring it needs to attract the mate. During most of the year, the tanager is gold-colored, gaining its bright colors only during the mating season. The male does not remain at the nest during nesting season due to its bright coloring, attracting predators to the nest. Often these birds travel as far south as Bolivia, and there are accounts of tropical storms causing the birds to be blown off course. The exotic birds have actually rained from the skies over New England. Mule deer. Mule deer inhabits the deserts, prairies, and mountains of numerous western states. Oversized mule ears enhance their hearing, but the deer cannot usually distinguish the innocent sounds of birds and small ground-dwelling creatures from that of predators. In 1906, the President Theodore Roosevelt, a man deeply committed to preserving the America's wildlife, set aside Grand Canyon National Game Preserve to protect the mule deer from predators. Its natural enemies, puma, coyote, and wolves, were systematically poisoned. As a result, the deer population grew uncontrollably from 4,000 to 100,000 in a few short years. The land, which was once a lush plateau, was soon turned into a desert due to the competition for food, and the deer starved on the barren range. Drought and starvation brought the mule deer population to an all-time low. We have learned that we must keep the natural predators in proportion to the protected animal. to get the Luna moth. Though most people consider the butterflies pretty and colorful, and moths though, there are always exceptions. Moon moth is a beautiful pastel green creature. The wings 4 inches wide and are trimmed with purple on the front edges, two twin to two wing-like extensions. Most moths, including the Luna, are night flyers, finding their way by using the moon as a directional beacon. Frequently, civilization interrupts its flight as the light from a bulb will disorient the moth, who will be found fluttering aimlessly around the bulb. The Luna moth is seldom seen, preferring to remain in the treetops. It is a metamorphic insect going through stages of egg larva, pupa, and the wing stage. When the female is ready to mate, she will emit a perfume undetectable to humans but picked up half a mile away by the male. The Luna is on the endangered list and is threatened by the use of pesticides and deforestation of the habitat. Ringtail. Little known in the United States, the ringtail is related to the raccoon and the coati. Its face is small with a pointed box-like nose topped by large ears, a bushy as long as its body and head is circled with 16 distinct alternating black and white bands. The ringtail is found in the dry, rocky regions of the American Southwest and in the last century was a popular house pet in Mexico. Rarely seen and tendency to avoid human contact, it sleeps by day and upon making rooms its fur before hunting for food, it will eat persimmons, hackberries, juniper, and mistletoe berries. When its regular fare of small animals is not available, it is a fierce hunter and better than most cats as a mouser employed by early miners to control rats called the miner's cat. Now I'm going to put them in a binder. Okay, here you go. So you can tell me which one is your favorite stamp or your favorite North American animal right here. Which artwork you like. They all have very similar artworks. Lots of these birds are not birds. Animals I didn't know about. Like the scarlet tanager. Well, I mean, I knew about it. Haven't heard about the ringtail in a while. So yeah, always learning new things. These cards are fairly old, almost 30 years old as well. Thank you, bye.